There's too much of a gap between what is available and what children need. And part of that gap is the funding's just not there. It's not there.
We never measured. We never had any idea how a child was doing until it was too late. And that was unsatisfactory for the United States of America. It's unsatisfactory for the president. It's unsatisfactory for the future. And that's why when we came to Washington, we worked with Democrats and Republicans to pass what's called the No Child Left Behind Act.
No Child Left Behind created new programs and a push to identify children with learning disabilities. In the U.S. today, there are more than 7.3 million children identified with learning disabilities, the equivalent of Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont, and New Hampshire's populations combined. No Child Left Behind mandated public schools across the country to do more to help students. Most of these mandates no longer come with federal funding, so local schools are stuck paying the bill. I realized the full effect of this problem when working as an SLP for a local public school. So this little girl was severely hearing impaired. It's habilitation. That's not rehabilitation. It's habilitation because they don't have it. Rehabilitation, you had it and you lost it. She needed the education to know how to use this cochlear implant. And if you know anything about cochlear implants, they drill into your bone and they destroy what hearing you have on your inner ear, and that's the only hearing that you have. And you have to wear this device on the outside of your ear to be able to hear at all. And the mom had moved a mile, and I don't even think it was a mile. I think it was like there was a line, and this house was on the line, and then these two houses were off the line of the district. And the grandparents, she moved in with the grandparents, so she was 2 houses off the district, and they wouldn't let her come to the school, specifically the school for hearing impaired kids. And I was so upset. I was like, somebody had to make that decision, but they made that decision based on not what was best for that child. They made that decision based on finances and those kinds of, generally speaking, a special education student costs twice as much as a general education student costs to educate. It's maddening for the kids because the children need the services. The children need educated, A free, appropriate public education is what IDEA is all about, right? So if you pass that child off to somebody else and make it somebody else's problem, that may help your budget or your bottom line, but what happens to that child? So I had been feeling God's nudge for a little while, a couple of years, and I was comfortable. It was like, when God's pushing you to do something, especially something big like this, I think he kind of readies your spirit for it.
You get the callings, okay, that's what you do. So
when she came to me, I don't remember thinking, oh, you're crazy. I do remember thinking this sounds really big, but it also sounded exciting.
I'm like, okay, well, here I am. I'm unhappy with my work. I love what I do, but I'm unhappy with where I work, and I'm unhappy with what I'm seeing happening there. So what do I do? How do I make it better? And so I was praying every day. I was reading. I was journaling, and by a month or less than that in, I very clearly heard God say, I want you to start your own company.
Janet is one of those people who put in the time and the effort to learn what the Holy Spirit sounds like so that she was able to listen and to be obedient in those moments. And
we had been going to River Tree for a while, and Pastor Andy had talked about The Circle Maker by Mark Batterson. You should read this book. It was really a catalyst for him starting River Tree, because River Tree was a church plant.
So the basic premise of the book is that while we would never say there are things that are too big for God, there are lots of things we don't pray about because we think they're too big for God. And so by not praying it, what we're doing is saying, well, we just think that this is too big. And whatever that is, the relationship that's too broken, the dream that's too big to pursue, whatever it is.
So it's like, Lord, if it's free on one of my audios, I will listen to this book and I will see what you have for me. How arrogant of me, right? But it was. I found it for free on audio. And so I started listening to it, and it changed my life. I was like, God, you know the name of this company. It's your company anyway. You're telling me to do this. Ultimately, it's for your glory. So I don't know what the name of it is. And whenever I was journaling or praying about the kids that I would work with, I always used to pray, Lord, let me be a light in this dark world for my students. You know, let me be a safe harbor for them, a place where they can feel loved and helped in their sessions, in their sessions with me. And I was praying that prayer, and I went, Lighthouse Therapy there. Graphic designers will tell you when you're doing a lighthouse to only do one beam, because otherwise it looks like a cross. So we went, no, we want 2 beams because we want it to look like a cross. So we did that. It's still a lighthouse, but it still represents Christ to us.
When she figured out the name was Lighthouse, I was in college at the time for graphic design, so she's like, can you make a logo? So that's when I really started with the company, was starting to create the logo.
So Carissa, Jonathan, and I started the company together. That's how it started.
And I switched my degree to business administration because I'm like, I want to learn how to do this business, how to help.
So billing and payroll started out with me doing it when we were teeny tiny. And then I started making mistakes because there was too much. And so then Carissa started helping. And then Carissa kind of took over billing and payroll. But she and she'll say the same thing, we're too alike.
Sometimes we work really well together, and other times there is friction where we need to be in totally separate buildings almost.
And she and I are very close. She's my daughter, she's my only daughter. And so we share a lot of things, but she did not share with me that she was having second thoughts about it until after the fact.
A couple of months in, I'm like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing?
And I'm glad she didn't share that struggle with me, because I think I would have been hurt. Honestly, as her mom, I think I probably would have been hurt. And that's probably why she didn't share it with me right away. But when God answered that question for her, it was amazing, because she said she went to church that Sunday going, God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to stay at Lighthouse, or am I supposed to not?
And I didn't know. So I'm praying, I'm asking about it. And then that Sunday after I started asking, went to church. The first song they played was My Lighthouse. I'm like, okay, I hear you, God. I'm supposed to be here.
And she was bawling. And I was like, okay, I like this song, but I don't know why you're bawling. Are you okay? And
it's such a relief to know that, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I wanted to keep singing the song, but at the same time, it's like, it's really hard to, because you just want to kind of sit down and just cry.
She told me afterwards that, she said God affirmed that she was supposed to go to Lighthouse. And here we go, right? And I just, it isn't just me, we as human beings can be so self-centered and so thinking about what we're supposed to be doing. And ultimately, they're their own creatures. They're their own child of God. So it's really cool that it's there for her, and that God used the symbolisms in that song for her in a way that we can talk about now and go, he's so amazing, and she's so amazing, and I'm just so blessed to have her in my life as my daughter. So. He was upstairs. We had a split level house at the time, and I was on the main level, so I went upstairs, and he says he was sleeping. I don't know if he was sleeping or not. I wouldn't put it past me to wake him up for something like this.
I was laying in bed. I think I was half asleep anyway. And she come in and sit on the edge of the bed and said, God wants me to start a therapy company. Okay. I mean, you get the callings. Okay.
But he's never told me no. I mean, he's never said, no, God didn't say that. He's never denied that what I hear from God, which is so affirming for me. And so I told him, I said, he just told me to start a company. Well, that woke him up. And he said, he's like, what?
What do you need to do that? And she said, you need a platform. Well, if we find one, I guess.
I'm a speech therapist, so I was on all these groups, all these speech therapy groups that on Facebook. And I literally opened up the app on my phone, got in one of those groups, and the very first thing I saw was the platform that we started out with. And I was like, okay, now this makes me teary, because it was affirmation. We didn't even need to go overnight.
She said, God put that right out there for her, that right here's a platform. So that's how we were able to start.
You can't run a company and work part-time. It doesn't work. One of them is gonna have to, go, or you're not gonna be able to focus on what you need to focus on.
She was saying God wanted her to quit the part-time job. And I'm thinking, okay, I've got the benefits. She did that and started it. And then a couple days later, I got laid off. And I'm like, now what are we gonna do?
So Janet set off on this adventure, but they had a safety net. They had Mike's job that was relatively stable, that, there was an underlying income. If this didn't work, then, yes, bummer, but no big deal.
I really felt like God pulled the rug out from under us. So I made the decision to start the company in probably June of 2018. It got to be November and he still didn't have a job. Nobody hires in December. He was unemployed for 4 months while we're in the midst of trying to get this company off the ground. So there were many, and I'm sure in my journals, if I go, tearful times where I was like, Lord, what are you doing? And just about January 10th or something, and I was like, Lord, I can't take this anymore. We thought he was going to get this job. They said they were going to call him. They called him at 10:30 at night on a Friday to tell him he got the job. So eventually he came to work for us full time. And there's lots of those stories, but that was probably the hardest time for me, was those 4 months.
There was a definite realization. So as we went into COVID, that God had put Janet and Lighthouse in place for such a time as this. Like some people knew of them, some people leaned into them, but nobody really thought that there was anything that was going to take over the world. And then COVID hit and everything shut down and everybody's scrambling to learn how to teach online. And here you have somebody who has already developed the system and the platform to be able to do that.
So our first year in this company, we served 40 students. Second year, 18 to 19, 20. I always think of it as the pandemic year because it's the beginning of the pandemic. But we saw 500 kids that year. Our prayer was to get to 200 kids by the end of that year, and we had 299. Or the end of the calendar year of 2019 was 200 kids, and we had 299 kids by December 2019. And by the end of the year, we'd served 500 kids. I can't do that by myself. I can't serve 200, 300 kids. And then it went, beyond that. The next year it was 1,200 kids. And this year, I don't even know where we're going to stop this year. It's just, beyond that, we've shot way past that number already. We don't realize the impact we have on people's lives. We don't realize loving on them and helping them and whatever we do, that impact just goes beyond that moment. And so when you have one drop, one child, that's that one ripple. And then when you think about 1,000 kids, 2,000 kids, that's not a ripple. That's like a big old wave. So we're starting to make a wave. Imagine if we could help 25, 50, 100,000, or even 1 million students. Remember, there are over 7.3 million children with learning disabilities in the United States. Let's solve this problem together. We don't want investors requiring us to cut support to our therapists so that we can make more profit. We don't want to pass along the cost to schools. The schools are underfunded anyway. Instead, we want your help. We want students and therapists to thrive. So we're hoping that you will partner with us. Shine with us and get one of our Brighter Together bands. This band shows your support for special education. And consider sharing this video with your network on social media. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Hi, welcome to Lighthouse Therapy.
Welcome to Lighthouse Therapy.
Hi, welcome to Lighthouse.
Hi, welcome to Lighthouse Therapy.
Welcome to Lighthouse Therapy.
Hi, welcome